Hello everyone and welcome to another LEC interview. I'm here with Odoamne after Rogue's victory against SK Gaming in the last week of the regular season. First of all, thank you very much for coming, Andrei. How are you?
I'm good. Happy to pick up a win and lock in top two for the playoffs.
Yeah, that's obviously fantastic. And I know this is about last week's game, but I wanted to know your opinion about something that Reckless said, because in the pre-game interview, he's stated that Rogue is a team that plays too much by the book, and that doesn't really work that well against good teams because they fight you every time. So, what's your take on his opinion?
Um, I mean, it's fair in a way that we play by the book most of the time, and we always kind of have this like same play style, I guess. You can name it like that. But at the same time, it's not really that teams can just like fight us at every point, and we're not really like willing to fight back. You know, we're playing by the book in the sense that we're like setting up objectives and stuff like this, but we're still ready to like fight when people are giving us like good opportunities. You know, we're just not really, I guess, looking to create fights out of nowhere. There's always like an objective for us, be it vision or like Drake's Baron or like towers and stuff like this. So there's always like an objective for us to fight, you know, even if it's not like a big objective. It's just like teams didn't really fight us, you know, before that. So it's not really like anyone's like exposing us, because like our games against them have been lost mostly from laning phase. And it's kind of like hard to come back in the game, especially with the comps that they had, because they had like, you know, 1-3-1 comps where in a way, I guess, yeah, you can say it counters our style because we can't really set up objectives because they always have like numbers advantage. But at the same time, if we didn't really lose early game, both early games against G2, then it would have been like a different game.
Yeah, you still have some games to play for the regular season, but as you said, you have locked the second spot for the playoffs, and you're going to have some extra time to prepare for that because we're going to have this week break. What are you looking forward to prepare the most or improve the most? Are you looking forward, for example, to train a bit more the laning phase in order to counter that problems that you had against G2? What are you going to focus on?
I mean, our problems against G2 weren't really like laning phase. It was more of like synergy, I guess, because I feel like we weren't really on the same page between each other on what we actually did from each other. You know, it's not like we got mechanically outplayed and we're lacking some understanding of like how to lane, you know. But mostly it's just gonna be like a new patch, and we're just looking to keep the advantage that we had so far, because I feel like we were always on top of the patches, and now recently with the new patches, I feel like we're not really as ahead of the curve as we were so far. So mostly for us is just to kind of look to keep the snowball going, because even today I feel like we could have like snowballed a bit more cleaner in that regard, with not giving up objectives, and like look to tidy up our game around those objectives. So yeah, it's mostly just draft prep, I guess, figuring out what's good in the meta, and just having answers to most of the drafts, because I feel like right now most of the games are just won from pick and ban.
And I usually don't expect you sharing some key information, but I think that we are going to see a lot of changes in the playoffs patch. I think they are changing teleport, nerfing champions like Gnar, Hecarim, Renekton, Lilia, and changing many items. So, what are you looking for this patch? What are your expectations for this playoffs meta?
It's still weird because like those changes are not really like massive changes, but I just feel like since the meta is kind of like shifting slowly, people have more time to kind of break the rules, because like all of a sudden, you know, for like I think like 2 weeks or so, Sand kind of became flavor of the month a bit for a lot of teams. And it's not like this champion got any changes, you know, it's just people kind of started figuring out there's other ways to play. And maybe with like NAR changes and some of the item changes, maybe tanks make a resurgence, but I don't really think so. I think Sand, for example, is like a special case. But then again, like we just need to see like specifically what the numbers are for most of the changes, because from what I know, Gnar's nerf is maybe just like attack speed, so I don't think it's that big of a change. You know, maybe it makes him less oppressive, but his identity is still the same as, a bully top laner that kind of like is oppressive towards like tanks and melee champions and stuff like this. So I don't know. Still, I don't think a lot will change. It's just we need to see numbers and try to figure out ways to kind of break the meta.
I actually wanted to ask you about Sion because I heard Grabs in an interview with Ashley Khan saying that the top lane meta is kind of boring because nobody can actually punish Sion that much, and you have just played your first Sion of the split, I believe. So, do you agree with Grabs? Do you think this top lane meta is a bit boring and there isn't many answers to Sion?
I mean, I wouldn't really say it's boring. It's like Sion kind of became this thorn in the top lane where he's like a good blind and he doesn't really have like a lot of counters. Like, yeah, Aatrox is always gonna be good because you have like a lot of spells to counter his channel Q, and you have a lot of ways to like move around the map and pick up farm. But at the same time, if you're not really like snowballing super hard on him, he's the type of champion that the problem is that there's not a lot of tanks in the meta right now. Because tanks in general are kind of like weak, I would say. But he's just one of those tanks that makes he gets a lot of value out of the tank items, just because once ARAM starts or like you start contesting an objective, most of the time it was the support that used to be the one that wants to like face check and stuff,
Yeah.
But now you have a guy that's twice as tanky as your Alistar or Leona or Rel walking in, and he has a shield that's like 1k, and you can't really like pop it. So it kind of just changes the dynamic for top lane, because yeah, you have champions like Renekton, Aatrox, I guess, that you like punish him and get like a big lead. But then those leads are kind of like relying on your team to be able to play the map and play macro well, to kind of always force him to not be there when the setup is starting to happen. While if you kind of drop the ball and allow Sam to group with his team, even if he's like behind, like today I was kind of like behind, just from like the lane matchup, but it still got to the point where I was able to like run in front of 4 people and they have to walk back, because they can't really like chunk me, So yeah, it's kind of like annoying, because right now I feel like Sion in that sense is like top priority, I guess, for a lot of teams. And that's why, like sometimes you see bans for like Sion to be blinded, like Gnar, Aatrox, stuff like this, the traditional counters to Sion. And that's kind of like what top lane drafting kind of revolves around right now, but maybe with the new patch and a bit more games, on the current patch, there's like an answer to be found to it, because yeah, it's like I mean, G2 says it's boring, but at the same time, Wonder is always on like, tank duties, Gragas, Sion and stuff. So yeah, I mean, it's really boring for them, but I mean, it's fair. Sion is really annoying to deal with.
Yeah, and we've been talking about the champions, but I wanted to ask you about the role overall, because it's been said for some time that the top lane is kind of weak in Europe, as after this whole split, and as someone that has played for a long time in Europe. Do you agree with this statement? Have you seen any changes in a positive way for the role this split?
I mean, I wouldn't say it's like useless, it's just kind of like the nature of the game. When you get bot lane ahead, you're getting 2 people ahead, you're getting the guy that has wards ahead, and he can like set up the map for everyone. And it's just easier to get numbers advantage and to like snowball a lead with bot lane, because for example, if you want to snowball top but an enemy snowballs bot, then when they swap and they put their bot lane into you, you're kind of useless, it's always easier to snowball the people that have most numbers, but I feel like the strength of top lane in general has always been that if you're playing your 1v1 properly and you're good in the game at like minute 15, 20, if you're playing it properly, you have a big XP lead over everyone in the game, because I think that for like a couple of seasons now, top lane is the first lane to hit like level 18 most of the time. So yeah, I feel like you're kind of like a silent carry, I would say, because if you're doing your job properly, then when mid game kicks in at like minute 15, 20, you're kind of the lane that gives pressure to the whole map, and you're the lane that's kind of like the strongest, even though you don't have numbers advantage, you're the one who's farming camps the most, gets XP leads if you're playing well and goal lead, and it's really easy to set up the map from top lane if you kind of know what to do, but yeah, you won't really have this insane presence or like flashy presence in like individually, where you're just like, oh, you're gonna get 1v1s and run around and one-shot people. You're mostly the guy that sets up the map for everyone else.
I think that goes in the line of what Whipple said this week in the Euphoria podcast, because they asking for a top lane tier list, and he said that Wunder will be the number one, and excluding him because he wasn't including himself in the list. He mentioned you and Armut as some top laners that were performing well, but when he talked about you two, he said that you farm well, you buy your breezer items as everybody else, you walk into a team fight and do your job, but it is your team that gets you to that stage. And he said that basically every top laner is doing that, but some of you are doing a better job. Do you agree with this perspective? I think it's very in the line of what you said.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like what is needed from you. It's kind of like what you need from a top laner. You kind of just need them to be reliable and, you know, be decent in the game, and like your role starts shining at like minute 15-20 when you start like grouping around and applying map pressure. So I mean, in a way it makes sense what he says, but at the same time, people who don't have like fundamentals or like are comfortable playing like this, they get like exposed, you know, because there's like so many times where himself, you know, he's trying to do more than he needs to do, and he's having like bad games where he's like kind of letting the team down when all he had to do was kind of like do nothing, you know.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the state of top lane. You sometimes just need to do nothing, you know, just let your team do things for you, and it kind of sucks, you know, because everyone wants to do more.
Yeah, everyone wants to carry a bit more, but the end of the split of course means voting for awards, and we have had some changes of the awards. Do you like this change that allows the community to vote for the all pro team?
I don't really like it. I kind of hate it. At the same time, it's just like gonna be a popularity contest. Well, I mean, let me just put it like this. You know, Fnatic can be last place, but Bwipo still probably gonna be first or second. You know, because it's just that's what happens when you have popularity contests. It's like whichever org has the biggest branding or following is gonna, you know, get the award. You know, so I wouldn't be surprised, you know, if Bwipo ends up over me, even though I feel like I didn't really have like a flashy, you know, like 1v9 split, but I feel like there's been no games where I kind of dropped the ball, you know. I feel like I've been always doing really good, but when it comes to the community, I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, I don't even get an award from just from this, you know.
I agree. I also hate it, but then who would you vote as of today's first lineup for the all pro team, at least in the top lane?
I mean, for sure, Wander is doing really good. Even though he's kind of just like playing, you know, doesn't really like show a lot of champs. I feel like he's doing his job very well on what is needed, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like no one really comes close to it. Like I don't think Bwipo has been like a really standout this split so far. So I feel like Wander doesn't really have like you know, an adversary, I guess. Like I'm not gonna put myself on the list because it's kind of like useless. So I'm just gonna make a list outside of like people from Rogue, I would say. So it's gonna be like Wander, I guess. Jankos is kind of like on and off. I guess it's hard to say outside of like him and Inspired, who is really good, because Selfmade has been good, but I think Jankos is kind of deserving. Am I gonna end up with just full G2? It's kind of crazy, but I mean, yeah, you can't not put Caps there, you know, Caps and Reckless, you can't really not put there. And I mean, Upset has been playing really, really well at Fnatic so far, and I feel like he's having a really, really good split individually. So, yeah, I mean, it still doesn't. It doesn't get better than Reckless though.
Yeah.
And for support, it's like, I mean, it's actually full G2. It's kind of crazy because I mean, Hilly is really good, but it's full G2. Sadly, they're the whole pro team number one, as boring as that is.
Yeah, especially if you don't take rogue players into account. But
yeah, exactly.
Just to finish the interview, I first started asking this question to every player that I'm doing interviews with, because we don't really know much of you besides League. Therefore, I like you to share something that people may not know about you, like any hobbies that you may have in the past or right now, or even movies that you like, food or something. For example, I know that you used to be excellent at swimming, and that's why I always think about you as the Tim Duncan of League of Legends. So does anything come to mind that you may think that people would like to know?
I don't know. I mean, it's mostly swimming has been my whole life, and I quit when I was like 18. I didn't really quit to like play League of Legends. It's just kind of like happened.
Yeah.
Not really. I'm trying to pick up hobbies now because I'm becoming a boomer slowly. I mean, I'm 26, but I wanted to start playing the violin, so I bought a violin a couple of days ago, and I'm still waiting for it to arrive and start practicing. And if I have another hobby to choose, I would like to buy maybe like a telescope or something and just watch, look for like, just look for, waste my time, you know, and just look around for some cool stars and stuff. But no, I mean, outside of that, there's nothing. League is sadly taking my whole day,
Yeah.
so I don't really have a lot of time to do other things.
No, but that's great. I hope that you learn fast with the violin or just enjoy looking at the stars with the telescope. So yeah, that will be all. Thank you very much to Rogue, of course, for facilitating the interview, and of course to you for being here. Best of luck during the Super Week and the playoffs, and obviously remember to follow him. You have his handle in the overlay, and if you like the interview, obviously subscribing to the channel or dropping a comment or something that helps distributing the content is always appreciated. So thank you very much for watching, and have a great week. De estar escuchando este mensaje significa que te has visto todo el vídeo, así que te lo agradezco una barbaridad por apoyar el contenido, y si quieres seguir apoyándolo puedes hacerlo suscribiéndote, que te va a salir por aquí un iconito para que lo hagas, y si quieres ver más vídeos de este tipo porque te han gustado, más allá de dejar el like, la campanita además que siempre ayuda, tienes aquí un par más para que puedas seguir viéndolo. Nada más, espero te haya gustado y nos vemos en otra ocasión.